This is a Prince Customs Protean with a skeletonized handle. This came out December of 2024. This particular batch, anyway. I think they had, or he had, one batch before this, maybe more in the summertime 2024. And then there's been a few since then. Kind of right after this, he came out with the Warncliffe blade uh, variant of the skeletonized handle and just kind of the Protean in general. So those are kind of what you can find today, more so than this exact variant. I think this has slowly been faded out, but of course he'll still make the drop point here and there. He's just kind of moved on. The other thing to note is this indentation here, he's moved to just having it fully cut out here. So there's a full window there, not just kind of a slot. So that's a difference you'll see between an older one like this and one of his newer ones. Overall, grip in the hand is great. Got medium-sized hands, and it just falls kind of right in there. There's jimping up top here, and when you lay your thumb across it, it lands in pretty much perfectly. It's not too sharp to where it's kind of, digs in or anything in a obtrusive way. Excuse me. It's just kind of perfect. And then when it comes to the finish on this one, it's got a Zerblast finish on the scales, and then kind of a satin finished blade. Action on it is excellent. It reverse flicks very easily, or Spidey flicks, thumb flick, and then slow roll out. A lot of people were comparing these, or still compare them, to the OZ Roosevelt as far as the action goes. And I have to say, I kind of agree. It's like glass breaking. So it's not too light, and it's not too heavy, but it's very satisfying, and it kind of just, there's nothing, and then it just pops open. But it didn't take too much force to do that, making it very satisfying on pretty much any opening method that you desire. Weight wise, it's really good in the hand too. You're not holding on to a giant brick at all. It feels very solid in the hand despite it being skeletonized and lightweight, which is nice. And then when it comes to the actual weight, pull out the scale here. This thing comes in at 2.9, call it 5 ounces. So 2.95 ounces. And if we compare this to a Strider PT, 3.16. So this is lighter than a Strider PT. And if you guys aren't familiar with the Strider PT, or in this case the Per T, it's got a different blade or a grip shape than the PT, but overall design language, or design shape and size is the same. But this is Strider's smallest knife. So that gives you an idea there. Now, comparing it to a Chris Reeve large Sabenza, 4.65 ounces, right? So this thing comes in incredibly lightweight for its size. This being more along the size, I'd say, of a Strider SNG, so the middle size Strider. Then actual size comparison, I'll bring the others out here. Got the Chris Reeve up top. Here is the Prince. And then here's the Strider. So you can see the Strider's quite a bit smaller. However, this was lighter. So the skeletonized handle makes a really big difference. And then of course up top here, the Chris Reed being the largest of the three and also the heaviest. This is an older Chris Reed from yesteryear, so I don't know if with this is a Chris Reed Spenza 21. They now have the 31. Not sure the weight on that variant, if they lightened it up at all. This is pretty much machined perfection. There's very few, if any, flaws in the machining. As stated, the detent's excellent. Trying to think of what else to really say. That gives you an idea right there. Pocket clip depth. This is a pretty deep carry. So some of you might like that. It's kind of right there. That's what would be sticking out. So not bad at all. Price. These things come in $800 to $850. Table price right from Prince. Secondary market. These were really hot last year in 2024. If it's 800, 850, you could probably get lucky and get one for, $900 to $1,000 even on the high end. Now they've kind of settled into right where table's at. And if your variant's even just slightly off from what's quote unquote hot, which is always subjective, but a skeletonized version like this is usually pretty hot, you can actually expect to, get one for maybe even 10% under table. So if it was 800, that's 750 or even $700. If the table price was $700 or $750, which I think his more plain Jane variants are around that range, you could get one for, $650. But yeah, definitely something like this, you should expect to pay, table price for it on the secondary, or even a few bucks more. Availability. Prince does drops, it's maker's choice. You never really know, but you can get on his newsletter. He does like one drop a month, and then he does random drops. Like he'll just randomly shoot out an email on a Saturday with a hot variant and says, hey, I've got 10 of these available right now. And so you have to log in right then and there and buy it. And that can actually be advantageous if you happen to be looking at your phone and you're next to your computer. If you do your banking from your phone, then you're ready to go, because it catches people off guard, so you never know if anyone's ready. General website drops to where they give you the date and time, and everyone's got a quote unquote fair chance to be at the ready. These things can sell out in like a second, or let's say under 10 seconds. Whereas I've been on the drops before where they're random and they last like 5 minutes, which is an eternity for a drop on something like this, if you're familiar with a product like this. But yeah, overall great knife. I would say definitely give it a shot. If the OZ Roosevelt's something you like and you already have that, you're going to recognize the detent and the action on this pretty well. It's got a nice shake shut action. Let's see, I'm going to zoom out just a smidge. Yeah, it's got a great action, nice shake shut, like a light shake. I don't like the guillotine where it just falls down, so this has a nice fall with a little bit of a shake. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell here. Great knife. I highly suggest picking one up. Thank you.